one of the most famous claims of alien abduction. Two men fishing by the Pascagoula River.
Both of them was very shook up.
He got picked up by the UFO.
Something had happened.
Police interrogation recordings, long kept secret, capture the first moments of their ordeal.
I knew all along that you shoot from side of world. I knew all along.
A young man in the woods, carjacked by a giant reptilian beast.
You could see it well enough in the moonlight to see that it was a humanoid-type figure.
Florida's foul-smelling swamp creature.
All of a sudden I see these eyes looking at me, these glowing eyes. And I just kind of went, am I really seeing this?
And a new video of the Skunk Ape, broadcast on TV for the very first time.
It's huge, isn't it? Then it stood up, and I could see it again. You feel it in your stomach because you knew you were looking at something.
The Green Swamp in central Florida. Miles of marshland. Dozens of dangerous predators. And among the gators, snakes and wild hogs, a mysterious monster is rumored to lurk.
The swamps of Florida could preserve a population that could easily be unknown to us. The Indians have said so. There are traditions that go back 1,000 years. This swamp provides the exact kind of territory that a skunk ape would like to live within. It's in a rural area. There are no special attractions like Disney World or other things. And it is dense as far as the forest goes. Not a place normally that most people would go.
You know, the term that you hear, skunk ape, I've made fun of people who have claimed to have seen it. I saw it, so I don't doubt it anymore.
Rumors of the ape-like creature came alive in the 1960s after a rash of sightings along the edge of the Everglades.
What is that smell? Is that the baby?
Nope, all clean here.
The monster's most notorious feature, its awful smell.
A very foul stench is associated with this creature.
So foul, few things compare.
A roadkill, a wet deer that rolled in dung.
The smell is pretty, it's pretty nauseating.
A horrible stench.
In the past 2 decades alone, over 100 sightings, making Florida the second hottest spot for hairy hominids in America, after the Pacific Northwest.
This creature is almost half ape, half human. It walks like a normal human up on its 2 legs, but it's covered in hair like an ape. Some Bigfoot are passive-aggressive, others are very aggressive, and this fits the southeastern model of the skunk ape.
Compared to the Bigfoot, it's a little bit smaller. And it's said that because of the swamp area here, the animal is a little bit more aquatic. It has been seen going through the water.
The legend dates back hundreds of years. In the early 1900s, discoveries of giant bones and skulls, some unearthed in Florida, fueled speculation that a race of hairy bipedal apes might still exist somewhere in the swamps. If the skunk ape was out there, no one really knew. One man was determined to find out. Retired Army MP Robert Robinson is a teacher and father of 4.
Being in the military has helped me with attention to detail. I was a military police, so I questioned everything that I saw.
Robinson's investigative eye would be put to the test. And he enlisted his own family to help him search for the beast.
My whole night's adventure actually started when I got wind of a sighting that had taken place by a hunter out there. He had seen the skunk ape.
What do you think's out there, Dad?
I don't know, but we'll find out.
So grabbed up the family, and we came out there where this creature was sighted.
This is kind of crazy, Dad.
In the winter, the swamp goes dark early.
Let's meet up in about 20 minutes, okay?
We'll go this way. Give me a call on the radio.
I broke the family up into two groups. I had my wife and my stepdaughter. They were going to go ahead and take the main road.
Robinson and his son went down a different trail.
It was pitch dark. I don't like to use flashlights. I like to keep as dark as we possibly can. I had a night vision camera that I just got a hold of, and I wanted to see how it worked.
Smell that?
And all of a sudden we get a woof of something that sounds like a dead animal. And all of a sudden I noticed everything just went quiet. Usually you can hear crickets, you can hear some kind of movement going on. It just got dead quiet.
So quiet, Robinson wasn't aware when his son disappeared from view.
Son.
Son! So I'm sitting there debating what to do, because I don't know where my son is.
Son!
Then I heard something moving off into the woods, and it sounded really large. It sounded like something on two legs moving, and it sounded very heavy compared to me. Whatever it was, it sounded like it was getting closer. I pull up my night vision goggles, and I point in the direction, and I see these eyes looking at me. And I just kind of went, am I really seeing this? I'm looking at it, and then all of a sudden, I see it blink, and a chill went down my spine.
Cut off from his wife and daughter, his son missing, Robinson was now close to panic.
There's no question about it now. I'm seeing something real. I'm hearing this creature coming closer and trying to look around for my son.
All of his senses were alert to the horrible prospect. The monster was right there.
I could hear it breathing. Instinct was saying, there's something big out there.
Only Robinson can't leave, not without knowing his son is safe.
And then I hear a noise behind me, and I'm thinking, oh great, there's another one. It's my son. And I could see the look on his face.
Dad, what is that?
It starts moving again toward us. I didn't have a gun or anything like that. My son kind of leans over and goes, maybe we ought to leave now. We start backing up a little bit. I didn't know if this animal was going to come out at us. And then I hear a scream. I've never heard a scream like that before. I've heard the panthers, I know what a bear sounds like, but that was something entirely different.
Running towards his car, Robinson prayed his wife and daughter were already there.
I was worried about everybody out there. I looked over and I could see my wife and my daughter standing outside of the car.
We were so worried about you.
And then all of a sudden, we heard the scream again, and it was loud. It echoed all the way through the swamp. That was the skunk ape. It left a lasting impression on me. It's something I'll never forget.
Skunk Ape has a habit of surprising the unwary. A junior scout leader decided to try a shortcut on the way back to camp. That trail led directly to the bulky beast of the swamp grass.
It stood up to be at least my height, perhaps more. I found the creature staring me straight in the eye. What would you do?
"50 miles north of the Green Swamp, Gilchrist Island, another Florida wilderness. Blackwater canals, carpeted with lily pads, shrouded by cypress and palmetto trees. Perfect cover for a cunning cryptid.
The terrain is very, very thick and dense, hard to navigate, not a place normally that most people would go.
In March 1961, Charles Voles was on Gilchrist Island.
Stay in your tent.
He was a junior scout leader
Hey, lights out, guys.
with advanced wilderness skills
Stay in your tent.
and badges to prove it. Nothing could have prepared him for what he was about to encounter.
While everybody else was bedded down for the night, about 11:30, I decided to take my evening walk, as I always did, down the center track of the island. It was a wonderfully cool evening, no rain, and a lot of moonlight. About halfway back, I decided to take a shortcut and came upon a clearing. And in the clearing, I approached a stump. I had planned to either walk around it or step over it. It stood up to be at least my height, perhaps more. I had no idea really where I was. It stood up looking directly at me, and it was covered with hair, smelling like foul odor of a roadkill. I do not do anything. I stand perfectly still, mostly because I couldn't move anyway. I was pretty frightened at the time.
In 1961, few had ever stood a hair's breadth away from Skunk Ape.
And while I looked at this creature, it very slowly moved its body. All the time kept its eyes straight on me, and when its body got around to a position where it could run, it did so. About 2 or 3 bounds, it had cleared that 30-foot area, and I could hear it for quite some time in the palmettos before that sound stopped.
Voles reported the encounter to the scoutmaster. His story was dismissed.
I stayed awake most of the night. I had concerns about the fact that there were up to 20 other boys, much younger than myself, on the property.
Some 50 years later, Voles still ponders the details of his mysterious encounter. He always arrives at the same conclusion.
Looking back now, I'd have to rule out bear, hunter, and the other items, and I actually believe that I was looking right dead at a skunk ape.
Over many decades, Florida residents have claimed to see the elusive skunk ape. Finally, one man may have captured the creature on video. 60 miles south of Tampa, Mayaca City sits alongside one of Florida's largest wilderness preserves. Occasionally, something monstrous emerges from the marsh grass.
I live on the back side of the Mayaca State Park, and I travel through there several times a week.
On one of those trips, Mike Falconer and his son saw the creature believed to be skunk ape and caught it on video. March 2nd, 2013.
This was a Saturday night. We were heading to dinner. There was a truck pulled over looking at something. I was just gonna go around them.
There's something out there.
And I just happened to glance over where they were looking. That's when I saw it and pulled over immediately. My son and I both saw something walking through this tan, dead grass. We had our cell phones in our pockets, so I started videotaping it because I knew I was looking at something. It was a good distance. You could see something walking. You could make it out with the naked eye. It's huge, though. It's huge, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, there now. Wow.
Yeah, you see?
Huge.
By the teeth. It's almost like a person.
We wanted to get closer, so we started to run towards it.
Hey, wait!
I got a good little ways out there. That's when it stopped, turned, squatted behind the grass. There he is. Then it stood up, and I could see it again. You know, feel it in your stomach because you knew you were looking at something. Let me go to my camera. I can zoom in. You could see it walking, and it looked like a large, very thick, hairy creature walking. We knew we were looking at something that's described as Sasquatch, Bigfoot, Mayaca skunk ape. That's what we were looking at. It had moved on far enough away from us. It was heading towards the trees, and we didn't see it anymore after that. This is the area where we pulled over. This is where we first saw it walking. We pulled over right here. This was all brown, dead grass. Right now it has water in it. But we're looking halfway across this field, and you could see him walking. You knew immediately. That's why I pulled the truck over so quick. I didn't have to say, what do you think it is? I definitely believe there's something out there. After you see something like that, you just think differently.
"400 miles west across the Gulf is the port town of Pascagoula, Mississippi's flagship city on the Gulf Coast. While all kinds of boats come and go in these waters, nothing compares to the vessel that landed here some 40 years ago. In 1973, 2 shipyard workers claimed that a spaceship suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Their story would make alien abduction an American phenomenon. Now, police interrogation recordings long kept secret brings this case alive as never before.
I knew all along they were shit from outer world. I knew all along. I never thought it would happen to me.
Pascagoula, Mississippi. On an autumn night in 1973, 2 men were spending a relaxing evening trying their luck with rod and reel. Unidentified creatures suddenly took them by surprise. They claimed their captors were from space.
The story is completely fascinating. They believe something actually happened to them, and it's never been disproven, ever.
Glenn Ryder has worked in law enforcement for over 50 years. A first-hand witness to the gruesome and the tragic. Yet one event still haunts him. Something he can't explain or forget.
It was an unusual story, but something happened to them. I don't know what it was. I wasn't there with them, but they had an experience.
In 1973, 42-year-old Charles Hickson and 19-year-old Calvin Parker Jr. were co-workers at a Pascagoula shipyard.
Mr. Hickson was a family man. He was married and he had 3 children. Mr. Parker was 19 years old, and they were avid fishermen. They put in a hard day's work and they went fishing after work.
Fishing on the evening of October 11th, 1973, would turn their lives upside down. Later that night, Jackson County Sheriff Dispatcher Michael Robichaud picked up an emergency call. He was the first to hear Charles Hickson's distressed voice.
I need to tell you something.
He was upset. You could tell in his voice. Dispatching, you can pick up person's certain things in their voice, you know, and whatnot. And his voice was quivering and raising up and down.
Ryder was the captain in charge on the night it all went down.
Captain. Dispatcher told me there was somebody on the phone.
It's Captain Ryder. How can I help you?
My name's Charles Hickson.
I really know that name. Just tell what happened.
Charles Hickson. Yes, sir. Yeah, I need to tell you something.
I said, well, if you want to tell me something, Mr. Hickson, go ahead and tell me now. He said, no, you'll laugh. I said, no, I won't laugh. Go ahead and tell me.
I got picked up by a UFO.
I laughed. He said, I told you you'd laugh.
Yeah. Look, just tell me.
And then kept hearing this boy in the background. I said, who is that talking in the background? He was hysterical.
That's Calvin Parker.
I said, that's Calvin Parker. He was with me when we got picked up by the UFO. I said, wait right there, I'm coming over, I want to talk to you.
Yeah, they're coming.
UFO sighting.
I thought he was crazy. You don't get that many calls like that.
When the officers pulled up, Hickson and Parker were still talking about UFOs.
Officer, listen.
Parker could barely contain himself.
A ship literally came out of the sky.
I could see fear in the voice. The boy was really upset.
And now both of them was very shook up, very visibly shook up. Voice and demeanor, they were scared. Something had happened to them.
And aliens came out.
Yes, there were 3 or 4
small creatures,
little creatures.
and they took us up there. I know this sounds crazy, but why would we call you? We wouldn't call you for the hell.
These little creatures came out.
Why don't we come back to the station? We'll talk this thing through.
The two men were brought to the station and separately questioned.
We took them back into a room that we interrogated people in.
Given the fantastic claims Hickson and Parker were making, Captain Glenn Ryder secretly taped their interrogation, a set of recordings that gives us an unprecedented window into the event.
Well, that's right after dark that night. It wasn't too long after dark. I don't know exactly what time and all it was. Went down by the old shore, hit a ship guard, I'm sitting there fishing.
It was a warm October night on the Pascagoula River.
See? Told you. Yeah. What's that noise?
As Hickson and Parker were fishing, they both heard a noise.
It's a river noise. It's a bird sound. Ooh, it's like that. That's all. One little back blast or anything.
The noise was strange. What followed was unbelievable.
I guess we must have seen the thing the same time. It's a blue light.
Hovering just above the waterline, a glowing sphere.
You think you're dreaming about something like that,
The sphere opened.
And all of a sudden, right in the 3 of them just floated out of the thing.
Once the aliens started moving towards them, Hickson and Parker were gripped by a paralyzing force.
I said, I gotta be dreaming. I'm scared of that. That's the spirit. Well, you can't imagine.
In 1973, in one of the first and most famous cases of alien abduction, 2 men claim a UFO appeared in the sky above the Pascagoula River in Mississippi. Later that night, Charles Hickson and Calvin Parker Jr. were picked up by the Sheriff's Department. Their interrogation was secretly recorded.
Went down by the old shore, hit a ship guard, I'm sitting there fishing. We caught a few hard heads down there and dumped it over.
They were having an easy time catching catfish. They didn't realize they'd be the next ones snared.
And all of a sudden he said he heard a whooshing noise, and he looked up, and there was a spacecraft right in front of them hovering over the water with 2 blue lights on it. And they were kind of glowing at him.
Hickson and Parker were struck motionless where they stood.
He tried to get up and run, and he was petrified. He couldn't move. He was paralyzed.
2 of the aliens seized Hickson. When the third grabbed Parker, the young man fainted with fright.
2 of them just floated around behind me and lifted me off the ground. Are you on? I'm on. Well, it didn't seem like this. I don't know, they done something. I just raved off the ground. I didn't use no force. No force. They didn't hurt me.
Once on board, they found themselves in a brightly lit room.
Charles said there was gauges all over the wall in that thing, and said there was no tables or chairs or anything. Said they just were suspended in air.
Hickson described the aliens as having a humanoid form. They examined him with a device that looked to Hickson like a giant eyeball.
Just floating, and they took that eye-looking thing and scanned his body with it. One up one side, down the other.
What, it look like an X-ray machine or something? No, it wasn't like no X-ray machine. It looked like an eye, like a big eye. It has some kind of pattern to it, I don't know what.
And he could not move anything with the exception of his eyes. He could go from right to left, and that was about it. He wanted to run, but he couldn't, obviously.
They had no idea how long they were gone. They weren't sure what had happened or how they got back on Earth.
The next thing he remembered, they was on the outside, sitting on the ground. And they looked back, and the spacecraft went to the east.
When Mr. Hickson was released on the pier, he immediately started looking for Mr. Parker.
Calvin!
And he saw Mr. Parker, and he had his arms reached out to him, and he was calling for him.
The experience was so shocking, they felt they had to report it to the authorities. Hearing the story, Captain Ryder was naturally suspicious.
I did smell alcohol on Charles's breath. I asked, I said, "You get a drink?" He said, "Yeah, I had to have one. My nerves were shot." He said, "I had to have something to drink."
Was the entire tale fueled by alcohol? Sheriff Ryder had a trick up his sleeve to put their sincerity to the test.
To see what they would say when we left the room if we had the tape recorder on. We thought, you know, we'd find out one way or the other, either they was lying to us or they was telling us the truth.
If in fact this was a hoax, it was smart to leave the tape recorder going.
It was the make or break moment for this far-fetched tale of aliens from outer space.
When we put them in that room and put the voice-activated tape recorder, that pretty well solved it.
They better wake up and start believing. They better start believing.
October 1973, Pascagoula, Mississippi. Captain Glenn Ryder of the Sheriff's Department secretly recorded two men claiming aliens abducted them. The secret tape recordings bear witness to how fervently Hickson and Parker held to their story.
You can't make people believe that, though. They better wake up and start believing. You see how that door will come out? I don't know how to open something. I don't know. And them son of bitches are just like that to come out. Yeah, I know, but you can't believe it. You can't make people believe it. They won't believe it when it is. It might be too late. I knew all along they was people from outer world up there. I knew all along.
Captain Ryder was impressed with their sincerity. It didn't sound like two men putting on a hoax.
They had some kind of experience, no doubt to my mind, that something happened to them. I wasn't there with them. I don't know what happened, but something happened to them.
It's uncertain whether Hickson and Parker ever had access to these remarkable recordings, documenting their first impressions of the event. For more than 25 years, the tapes were locked away in the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. Over the years, skeptics criticized their story. Since the fishing pier was visible from a nearby shipyard and a highway, why wasn't the UFO landing seen by anyone else?
Nobody could corroborate that this spacecraft came down, landed. Nobody saw anything to that effect.
20 years later, Susan Rodeman was a reporter working at a local paper in Pascagoula.
I did receive a call from a gentleman, Mike Cataldo, and he was calling about the sightings that he had on or around the same night as Charlie Hickson and Calvin Parker back in October 1973. At that time, he was Chief Petty Officer in the Navy, stationed here in Pascagoula.
That evening, Cataldo was just off duty and heading west on Highway 90.
It was while he was driving home on this dark, swampy road that he noticed an object in the air, what he called a UFO.
To Cataldo, it looked like a large gray tambourine, ringed by blinking lights. It hovered above the swamp, then shot away, vanishing from sight.
I was wondering why he kept quiet about it all those years. And I think maybe he wanted to be retired and out of the Navy. So that's what prompted him to finally go public.
Throughout their lives, both Hickson and Parker maintained the report of the encounter was truthful.
Charles was put on a lie detector test and he passed it.
Sherry Ward was one of the last journalists to interview Charles Hickson before he died in 2011.
I did go to his house. I spoke with him and his wife, and he took me through his entire story. He was very open about his experience. The most unique thing in something that's completely unbelievable like this is that his story stayed solid for almost 40 years. His story never wavered, not one time. I mean, he believes it happened, and it's never been disproven.
To me, just about anything's possible now. We've had other sightings and whatnot since this in 1973. And there's just some things that are just not explainable. This may be one of them.
Bishopville, South Carolina, a town that's nearly surrounded in swamps. More than a quarter of the county is underwater. Some 25 years ago, near the Scape Ore Swamp, a young man had a terrifying encounter, one that Bishopville residents are still talking about.
It's one of the most unique things I've ever seen. A lot of it just don't add up. You don't have the answer for it.
Scape Ore Swamp is definitely a place that could hide unusual creatures and unknown mysteries because it is vast and rugged and, you know, off the beaten path of civilization.
You get down to the swamp itself, it's real thick. Something could live back there and never even be detected. The swamp holds a lot of secrets.
And in 1988, one scaly secret may have slipped free. The Lizard Man. It made its presence known in an extraordinary attack on a teenage boy, Christopher Davis. Davis has since passed away, but one man still struggles to make sense of what happened. Sheriff Truesdale, Lee County Sheriff. Over his career, he has seen it all. Yet nothing compares to the days surrounding the appearance of the Scape Ore monster.
We received a complaint from a house in the Browntown section of Lee County. We dispatched 2 deputies out there to investigate the complaint. They called back and said, "Sheriff, you better come out here. We've never seen anything like this before."
Look at my car. Look who did this.
While parked outside the family's home, Their vehicle had been damaged during the night.
It's strong, that's for sure.
Look how wide the claw marks are.
What we found appeared to be tracks all over the car, pretty good sized tracks, and the fender was pulled out. Something had pulled the chrome strip off and chewed it up. Whatever it was real strong.
The creature reportedly had a taste for cars. There was cars that were found mauled or attacked. It was like vandalism, but it looked like it had been bitten and chewed and torn up.
It scratched the paint, it bent the metal.
The incident might be dismissed if it was an isolated case. It wasn't.
Are the kids safe? Is the neighborhood safe?
Some of the people was telling us it was an unusual large creature in the community.
The lizard man was generally described as being 7 foot tall. It had a human-like shape. It was large, bulky, muscular. Typically was described as having 3 fingers. It had long black fingernails or claws. It walked upright. It did not have a tail.
We started asking people in the neighborhood, had they seen anything like what was described to us? One person said, "You mean that lizard man?"
Then, the case took an astonishing turn. A local teenager was fixing a flat tire near Skateboard Swamp when he realized he wasn't alone.
You could see it well enough in the moonlight to see that it was a humanoid-type figure, and it was moving pretty quickly at him.
Bishopville, South Carolina. In the summer of 1988, Sheriff Liston Truesdale was investigating cases of property damage and assault by a most unlikely perpetrator. A lizard man, supposedly lurking near Skateboard Swamp.
I'm gonna catch the biggest fish, boy. You don't even know, man.
We heard that it ran 2 fellows off Skateboard Swamp. They saw it and it was too much for them, and so they ran.
Then, 17-year-old Chris Davis came forward to report a terrifying tale.
This was July the 14th of 1988. Chris Davis and his dad came in.
Sheriff, this is my son, Chris. He has a story to tell you.
So you had an encounter with this creature.
When Chris Davis's father saw this in the newspaper, he put 2 and 2 together and thought, well, maybe this is the creature that attacked my son.
Well, I was on my way home from work and...
The incident had occurred 2 weeks prior to the cases the sheriff was already investigating.
It was some kind of lizard man. And
I just couldn't believe what the fellow was telling me. This kid was a super good kid, and his parents is very reputable.
I tried to get in my car and drive off, but before I know it, the lizard's on top of the car.
We asked him, well, why didn't you report this? And he said, because everybody would think he was fooled. Nobody believed it and think he was crazy.
On June 30th, 1988, Chris Davis was on the late shift at a fast food burger joint on the edge of town. He finished up around 2 a.m., got into his car, and headed home.
He was coming home from work and had a flat tire. And he stopped by a little dirt road to fix his flat tire.
That little dirt road was at the Skateboard Swamp, stuck in the middle of nowhere, without a soul for miles. Davis would have to fix the flat or spend the night.
And he fixed his flat tire and was placing the tools back in the car. He saw something which he described as a tall creature, about 7 feet tall, with big red eyes.
He looks up and he sees something coming down through the tall grass. Of course, this kid is panicked. He takes off. You could see its hand hanging by the window, and he saw it had 3 fingers. It had long claws that he described having black fingernails.
Davis swerved wildly, trying to shake the monster from his car. The nightmare was over. Or so he thought.
It got up and started chasing him. He estimated that the thing was running at least 35 miles an hour as he sped off, and he could see it in the rear view mirror until it disappeared into the darkness.
He went home and drove up in the yard and jumped out of the car, crying, screaming, and yelling. And his parents said it took 2 hours to settle him down. That's how afraid he was.
His parents are trying to ask him what happens. He's explaining that he saw a 7-foot green, red-eyed devil, as he described it. And they saw the fear and the emotions in Chris's eyes.
Days after the encounter, Chris Davis drew a sketch of the creature.
It was a very crude drawing, but it basically showed a large humanoid-type creature that had 3 fingers and glowing eyes.
In 1988, in this one small area of South Carolina, there were more than a dozen sightings. The rash of reports tapered off, yet every few years, somebody saw something.
At the time, Liston Truesdale, was skeptical of the story, but he did feel that something happened to this boy, that he saw something that was traumatizing.
Whatever it was, may still be out there.
Bishopville has a monster hanging around somewhere in this area. I used to like to get out and just walk, look at the stars, but I don't walk the woods no more.